You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. It's of you on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Dawn Chorus, Devon's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. I finally sat down on the bed again and unlocked the phone. My profile was still empty, so first I worked on that. I found a suitable photo, me wearing my tank top, leaning on the table in a diner at Lake Erie. It was from before my birthday, but thankfully I always looked much older than I was, especially after I started putting on some muscle, and I didn't have any better ones from later. The context felt meaningful, too. My dad took me to that diner to celebrate after a match our football team won, and he took the photo as well. It was awkward, being there with him. We didn't have much to say to each other. It seemed like he felt that it was his fatherly duty to take me somewhere, but didn't have any ideas what to do with me. The food was nothing special, but the lake was nice at least. Not as nice as the ocean, but there was something calming in its slow rolling waves and the way it seemed to absorb all the other sounds. But now I stared at the empty biofield with zero idea what to put there. I didn't want to say anything about myself. In the end, I only wrote in the area for the night and left the age empty. Then I went back to the grid of profiles. Many of them didn't have photos, but even these had names attached that made my imagination kick into high gear. I clicked on the first profile. The distance indicator shown less than 0.1 miles, less than 0.1 miles, so he must have been in the same motel. A gruff face of a bull looked at me from the photo, framed by two horns. Another photo shows him from the waist up, standing in the shower, arms crossed, wet fur clinging to his bulky frame. From his face, I'd guess he was in his 40s. Trucker, looking for fun. No photo equals no answer was all his profile said. He wasn't what I'd imagined as my type, but looking at his profile, I felt my face getting hot. The near ultimate taboo of hooking up with someone twice my age, the fantasy of night and the pause of a rough trucker, the bulk of a man as manly as it gets. He had what I lacked. I was walking in the dark, looking for directions, but it could have been the experience I was searching for when I left home this afternoon. Fingers trembling, I wrote him a message and clicked send before I could start doubting whether it was a good idea. I glanced at my backpack. In the side pocket where I hid the pack of cigarettes, I had a bottle of lube and a pack of condoms. Handsome face. Staying here for the night? I wanted to put the photo down and inspect the room, but the response came almost immediately. Hey, cutie. Yes. First motel? Looking for a dick tonight? He unlocked his photos. I clicked on the first. Him lying on a bed, all naked, holding his tool in a meaty paw, smirking for the camera. I locked the screen and dropped the phone onto the bed, my cheeks burning. In truth, I didn't expect him to respond at all. I wasn't ready for a response this soon, that's for sure. I didn't know what to do. What was I even doing? Was I ready to have my first time in a seedy motel with some trucker I didn't know, who would likely treat me as a hold-a-fuck or a rug to grind against? Part of me said yes, of course. That's exactly what I wanted. But the rest of me was gripped in an overwhelming panic. I didn't dare to unlock my phone again. I felt like running. That's how I always dealt with stress, sprung into a run. Opting to leave the shoes here, I left the room bare-pawed and walked onto the parking lot in front of the motel. It was getting dark already. A few stars glimmered dimly in the indigo sky. The air was cold, wind blowing from the direction of the lake. It was just what I needed. The road wasn't busy and the patch of dirt on the side of it was wide. I turned away from the lake and started running. Half an hour later I stopped, panting. The street was ending, joining a busier one in a wide intersection, turning into a road. No point in continuing forward. I had to go back anyway. It was getting darker by the minute. I had nothing reflective on me. I didn't want to die out there. At least I got the stress out of my system and my head felt mostly clear. There was a diner in the nearest town that I ran past. I didn't feel any hunger, but I knew I had to eat something anyway or I'd collapse the next day. I didn't want to come back to the motel yet, too. I went back the same way, looking for the diner, and there it was. A steel construction glued to another building at a desolate intersection, shiny and futuristic, a warm glow pouring onto the street from wide windows. The smell of the food hit me like a brick wall when I entered. I had to lean on the doorframe, dizzy. Only then I realized how desperately I needed food. I sat down at one of the tables and grabbed the menu. It was just the usual diner fare plus some fish, so I decided to go with the fish burger with fries, the best price to nutrition value and calories ratio. A waiter came to take my order after a moment. An otter in his 20s. Maybe it was a summer job for him while he was staying in his hometown. That was my guess. He took my order, and as I watched him walk away to the kitchen, a bull sitting in the corner turned towards me. The same bull from Ruffler. Nostrils flared, eyes open wide. I stared at him, and he stared at me. He was as big as his photos suggested, with a gut peeking from under the t-shirt that I didn't expect. He seemed surprised, his mouth ajar, as if he wanted to say something but forgot what. The next few seconds seemed to stretch into hours. I stood up slowly, grabbed my phone from the table, and walked towards the door. As I held the handle and opened the door, I turned to the inside of the diner again. The bull slowly raised his paw, eyes locked with mine, while the waiter shouted to me from the kitchen. "Hey, wait!" I stepped outside and felt the cold concrete pavement below my paws, and I sprung into a run. Back in my room, I leaned back on the bed and unzipped my pants, my own musk hitting my nose, potent after a day of riding and all the pent-up urges. I grabbed my member, imagining holding the bull's cock instead, having him here with me, draped over me, his paw on my chest, pressing me into the bed, my paws running all over his body. He wasn't even especially attractive, but a mere thought of his touch was nearly making me groan. I could have had him here. I could have had him here on my bed, stroking his meat with both my paws, and he'd lean into me, his paw cupping my cheek, and his broad tongue would invade my maw. What a mixture of lust, disgust, excitement, fear, pain, and pleasure, all flashing like a blinding light before my eyes. Bright, so bright, a radiance from beyond. I painted my torso white in seconds, panting and lightheaded. Shame. That's what I felt the most. Shame. He had been within my paw's reach, and I had been too much of a coward to act. Shame. This went against what I was brought up with. I came here to free myself from my shackles, and I still couldn't act against my upbringing. Shame. Who am I, even? I'm queer, but not queer enough to have the guts to actually do something with a man. Shame. I uninstalled the app without opening it again. Then I put on American Paw Ball, tossed the phone aside, and it landed on the bed with a soft thud. A deep bass line blared from the speaker. Suddenly, with no warning, a loneliness bore down on me, so intense that it threatened to crush me under its weight. Where before I saw a blinding light, now there was a black hole, swallowing everything, expanding outwards. I was completely alone here, alone in this whole world, hungry, away from home, away from everyone I knew, free for the first time in my life and without a clue what to do with this freedom. The moon filled the room with a silvery glow. I looked at it through the window, yellowed curtains pulled aside, the silent witness of my turmoil. I might as well have been on its surface with how alien and otherworldly the motel room felt. Retreating into myself, I closed my eyes and fell asleep. Somewhere beyond the horizon of my consciousness, the singer crooned, backed by jazzy drums and labyrinthine riffs, singing about my youth. I left the next morning at 6 a.m. as the sun rose. A quick shower and I was on my way. I felt better, but still as aimless as the day before, and even more lost, so I yearned to be in motion again. I still didn't know where I was going, but I decided that driving until I felt like it's enough was the best plan I could devise in these circumstances. It was good to be in the car again. My paws grabbed the steering wheel and felt the familiar ridges of the cheap upholstery. I found comfort in the hypnotic movements and the dusty smell permeating the cabin. This was my space. I kicked into first gear and rolled through the parking lot, and soon I was on the road again. My mind lingered on the events from yesterday, for a moment after I passed by the diner from yesterday, until I rolled the windows down and let the wind in. I was on the right path. On a few occasions I remembered the last night again. Each time I passed a truck, I looked into the driver's cabin to check if it was the bull from the day before. I knew the chances were low, but I felt like I should apologize, even if in truth I hoped I wouldn't encounter him. I didn't have any good words to offer him anyway. The further I got from Pennsylvania, the less I checked, until I stopped at all. I haven't seen him ever again. For now, there was just me and the road, and the safe bubble I was watching it from, gliding over the smooth asphalt. A mixtape of solo David Urbian and his earlier band, Japan, was flowing from the speakers. The monotonous landscape was like a balm on my troubled mind, and driving manual left me with less space for thinking. Focused completely on driving and the music, my mind switched off. I was leaving what I knew behind, moving towards the rising sun. The states changed again, but the border was just a little line drawn on the map, abstract and arbitrary. I stopped only at the gas station to refill the tank in my stomach. Forward and ahead. Alright, y'all, this one's done. Let's try this. Crack it open, y'all. Alright. The unchanging landscape soon started to get to me, though. I wanted to get somewhere, but I felt like I was driving in one place. Only the trees outside of the car moving and the rest staying still. I knew this couldn't go on forever. There had to be more than this. I had to move forward into somewhere new, somewhere else. The day was slowly ending and I was tired after driving the whole time. I found some roadside motel again and got a bed for the night. It was way too soon to fall into the routine, but the movements became somewhat familiar. A short rest, a trip to a local diner, a shower and American pawball. After the whole day in the car, even the Spartan room and diner food felt decadent, and I was happy to finish the day without any adventures. There was one more thing I wanted to do before moving forward, though. See the lake up close. I didn't get to the shore the day before, focused on doing the most miles I could, but now, in another state and done with driving for the day, I was no longer in a hurry. The motel was close to the shore. Just a short walk through the trees was enough to get there. I only took my camera, headphones, and a bag of chili lemon peanuts with me. I walked out of the woods in the most scenic locations I'd been to by that point of the time. Safe for the Grand Canyon, maybe. The view before me was serene, unlike the commercial beach I went to with my father a few months back. The lake stretched to the horizon, disappearing in the mist, joining with the sky. In my ears, David Erbian crooned softly, singing of rain falling on the waterfront, but the coast before me was crisp and bathed in the orange glow of the setting sun instead. My soul soared with the strings as my eyes took in the view. I had to sit down. There was a flat stretch of grass to my left, and that's where I headed. It was far from being empty. A few families with children and a few couples were there, furred and furless bodies lying on the grass, strolling and running along the muddy coast. I found a neat spot with nobody between me and the water and sat down there, paws sinking into the grass at my sides. Pleasure shot up through my paw pads and through my arms, my brain happy with the contact with the ground. The scenery was so absurdly idyllic that I had to stop myself from laughing. There was someone else there that I didn't notice at first, the only person looking around my age, and the only person seemingly alone there. An otter, shirtless, was lying in the grass not too far from me, propped up on his elbows, looking at the lake through rather unnecessary at the time of the day sunglasses, shirtless. He was looking straight ahead, so let my eyes linger on him a bit longer. The golden glow was shining at his chest, toned but not overly, less than mine at that point in time. He took good care of his body, that much was obvious. My heart started to beat stronger. There was something in him that didn't let me turn away. My thoughts circled around like satellites pulled by his magnetism. I wondered what he was doing here, where he got from. Was he a local or a traveler like me, on a search for something? His face, unmoving and unreadable. What could have lied behind it? What mind? What personality? I wanted to know him. I felt his pull, but there was something in me that didn't let me act. I wanted to wave to him, to do anything, but I could only look. I left after 20 minutes, maybe, when the same album I was listening to when I came there, Secrets of the Beehive, was ending for the second time. Waterfront accompanied me again as my paws led me back to the motel. I kept glancing at the otter through the bushes until he disappeared from view completely. As I walked into the shade of trees with the slightest sense of defeat somewhere in the backdrop of my thoughts, it entered my mind that it might always be this way. Maybe I'd always just be observing, never acting. Maybe it was my nature. It was a grim thought, but one I took very seriously. I woke up in the middle of the night. There was some shouting outside. I got up and went out to the window just in time to see the same otter was on the beach being punched in the face by a deer falling backwards onto the gravel. The deer was clearly older than him, maybe in his 30s, and seemed inebriated but not totally drunk. He shouted something, spat, and strode away towards the town, the otter observing him from the ground. There was blood dripping from his snout onto his t-shirt. My veins flushed with ice. I stood at the window, hidden behind the curtain, waiting for someone to come out to help the otter, but there was no one. I should have ran out to help him. I should have, yet I stood there, rooted to the spot. Then, when I could start moving again, my shaking legs led me back to the bed. I sat down on the edge and stared at the wall. I spent a good 5 minutes like that, feeling terrible with myself for not doing anything, until finally I reasoned with myself that I have to go there and help. Alright, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silver, and thank you going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Ziki, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if you want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our net site for more contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!